So the first activation that I want to cover with you is movement. Movement is, of course, core to the game. So here we have a capo with a knight right next to a banner bearer. The knight has a command range of 3. Measuring from the base, the knight is just out of command range of these 3 halberdiers. So instead, we will use the banner. The banner, for sake of argument, also has the same virtues. Now, these models are all within 6 inches of the banner bearer, measuring from the base to their base. So, he'll make a movement activation using 1 prudence and 1 speed. Movement is 3 plus d3. So again, a 1 or a 2 would be 1, a 3 or a 4 would be 2, a 5 or 6 would be 3. In advanced rules, you can also use the armor value of the card plus d3. This can also sometimes help with mitigating the effects of armor. But for now, we will keep it simple and move 3 plus d3. Excellent. We have a speed crit. A crit success on speed means that the models move an extra 3 inches for a grand total of 9. Now, in movement, the 1 roll you make applies for every model. So every model has the option of moving up to 9 inches. Again, measuring from the bases. Now, I will move these guys through here. Models cannot move through other models' bases, but we'll just say that these guys moved ahead. Now, I'll keep them all a little bit close together because I don't want things getting too scattered. So now we have a nice little group, and the halberdiers are able to support the 2 capos up front. Let's say we have here the banker who has 2 prudence. He is here trying to move up to join them. But there's an enemy capo over here. For the sake of argument, he wants to make a movement to go join these guys and get behind a little bit in protection. If, with the sake of argument, he rolled 2 Prudentia crit fails, we would refer to the chart and we would find that the Prudentia crit fail is moving directly away from the nearest enemy. So I'll measure from the base and move away from that enemy capo who's standing right there. If he had been moving Audacity, he would have had to move directly towards that enemy capo. Let's go through the rest of the crit effects. Let's go back to the crit successes for a moment. A crit success in speed is something that the dice very generously gave us for free. However, let's go through the other crits. A crit success in prudence would mean that they would get a defense dice while moving as they sneak prudently around watching for enemies that might take a pot shot at them. That would give them defense dice as if they were moving through cover. A crit success on Audacity would mean that any enemies that are within 6 inches at the end of their move, say for example, this enemy capo, is so frightened by their audacious entrance onto the battlefield that they are frightened and are at risk of losing virtue. They would roll a dice for every virtue that is attached to their card, and any result of a crit fail would immediately burn a virtue of that type. A crit success in Fortitudo means that the virtue and faith that were used for that movement are refunded, but not the action. Going now to the crit fails. If, say, the banker here were trying to move and join these people here, and he were to roll a prudence crit fail, that would mean that he would have to move 4 inches directly away from the nearest enemy, say this capo here. Imagine from the base, I move over here. Now he is dangerously out in the open and isolated from his protection. If he were to roll an audacity crit fail, he would have to move 4 inches directly towards his enemy. A speed crit fail means he would have to burn a virtue. He's gotten a little bit too hasty, stumbled, or out of breath. A fortitude crit fail means that he only moves 1 inch. He's just a little bit too stoic and tough about this. Next, I would like to go into the idea of difficult terrain. Let us say, for example, this card here would be counted as difficult terrain. Maybe it's a swamp, maybe it's a steep hillside, maybe it's a river or some rocky ground. Difficult terrain needs to be agreed before the game by both players. When crossing difficult terrain, each point of movement is halved. So if, for example, the Duchess here was moving across this rocky patch of ground, if she were to roll, let's say, a result of 4, she would then move 3 plus d3, meaning a total of 5 inches normally. But moving over that card, that is halved. So she moves those 2 inches count as 4, and she moves another inch beyond. For advanced rules on dangerous terrain, see the rulebook.